In this video, we are continuing with our select statements. What we have seen so far is how to select all the data from the table, and also we saw how we can filter the data, whether we want to display specific columns or filter our rows using the where command. In today's video, we are looking at how we can sort the result of our query, whether in an ascending order or a descending order according to a specific column. We'll also look at some aggregate functions to calculate the sum, count the number of results that we get, finding the maximum value or the minimum value, or even calculating the average. Later, we will see how we can group our results according to a column and how we can filter our groups using the having keyword. So let's look at our select statement syntax again. We have the select keyword, the from keyword, which are the only two required keywords in our select statement. After the select keyword, we can have the list of columns we want to display, or we can have star to display all the columns. If we want to only display unique values in that column, we can use the keyword distinct or the keyword unique. If we want to assign an alias for a column, we can use the as keyword after the column name and put the alias. From, then we will have the table name. This is the table that we will select data from. And then we had the where condition. So after the where keyword, we had the condition to filter our rows. So for example, if we wanted to only see the books that have a cost greater than 50, this will be in our where condition. In today's video, we are looking at this part of the select statement to group by our results, to group them by a specific column, to give a condition to our groups to only display specific groups that have this condition, or to order our results by a column value. We are using the same database that we used before for a bookshop. So we have the customers table, the orders table, order items, books, book author, author, and publisher. So let's try out these commands in the Oracle SQL Developer tool. So let's start by selecting all the columns and rows in the book table. So select star from books, and that should display all the values that we have in the books table. Let's say instead of displaying everything, I just want to display the title and the cost for that book. So to do that, I will replace the star with the column name, so title, comma, cost. And that will display only these two columns, which are the title and the cost. Now you'll see that the columns in here are, or the values in here in the cost are not sorted. You'll see we have 18.75, 14.2, 37.8, and 31.1.4, and they are not sorted. If you want to sort your values according to the cost, you can use the order by command, so order by, and then you will tell me which column you want to order the results by. So if you want to order them according to the cost, you can use the cost column. So select title and cost from the books table, and then order the results by the cost column. By default, they will be ordered in an ascending order. So you'll start by the least price, and the last value will have the most cost. So we started with 5 and we ended with 48. So by default, we are ordering in an ascending order. If you want to do it in a descending order, you can use the keyword descending. So after the column here, I use the keyword descending, and that will order my results in a descending order. So the book that has the highest cost will be the first one to display, and the book with the lowest cost will be the last book to display. Now you can sort or order by more than one column. So let's say that we are also displaying the category column. So category, comma, title, comma, cost, and we are sorting according to the cost. Now, if you want to sort them according to their category and then according to their cost, you can do that using the order by command too. So you start by sorting them according to the category, and then if you have multiple books in the same category, we will be sorting them according to their cost. So in here, I'm gonna order them by category, and then a comma according to their cost. And you can order the category in an ascending order and the cost in a descending order. You do not have to have them in the same type of ordering. So what will happen now when we execute this command, We are ordering the category in an ascending order, so we're starting with business, then C, children, then C, computer, cooking, family, fitness and literature, self-help, and then for each category, we are sorting the books in a descending order according to their price or their cost. So you'll see for children, we started with the higher cost book, which is this book, 37.8, and then the one that is less than that. Same thing with the computer. We started with the highest, with the book with the highest cost, and then we ended up with the book with the lowest cost in that category. So we are ordering by or sorting by more than one column. This is the first one we will start sorting by. And then if we have values that are equal in that column, we'll go and sort these values according to this column and in this order. So we are sorting by the category. We have multiple books in the same category, so we'll sort these books according to their cost. And this is how I'm sorting them in a descending order. So let's go back to our original table. I'm selecting again all the columns and rows from the books table. And I want to display now all these columns. Now, one of the aggregate functions that we'll look at today is the sum function. Now, the sum function, it will go to a specific column and it will get or calculate the sum or the total of all the values in that column. So let's say that we want to get the total cost for all these books. I can go in here and instead of selecting all the columns, I want to display or select the sum of the cost column. So you use the keyword or the aggregate function sum, and in parentheses, you'll put the column name that you want to add the values for. So sum cost, that will calculate the total of the cost column. You can also use a column alias if you want to display it, for example, as the total cost, and that will display the total cost for you. You do not have to only display one sum. You can display more than one sum. So if I wanted to get or calculate the sum of the retail price, I can do that also here. So I will display the total cost and the total retail. So in here, I will display it as the total retail. So if we run it now, it will display the total cost and the total retail. So the total cost and the total retail. You can also use or find the minimum value or the maximum value in a column using another aggregate function, the min function and the max function. So if I wanted to get the minimum cost in a column, in the column cost, I can use min, which is an aggregate function that will get me the minimum value. So we can put min cost, and we can also get the max for the retail using the max aggregate function. So the max retail. So we can see what is the minimum cost that we have. So the minimum cost is 5.32 and the max retail we have is 89.95. You can also calculate the average. So if you wanted to get the average cost, you can use the AVG aggregate function, and that will get you the average cost for your book. So average cost, you can do that the same thing for the retail, AVG retail. So that will calculate the average retail. So this is the average cost and this is the average retail. Now, if you did not want to display all these decimal digits after the decimal point, you can round this result. So if you wanted to round the average retail, you can use the round function. So round, and then in the parentheses, you will calculate the average retail. So we are rounding the average retail. And if you use the round function like this, it would round it to the highest number value that we have here, which is 41. If you want to round it up to a decimal point value, so you want to display 2 digits after the decimal point, you can put a comma and then how many decimal points or how many decimal digits you want to display after the decimal point. So this will display up to 2 digits after the decimal point. So that will display 40.98, which is the average retail. Another aggregate function we can use is the count function. The count function counts how many rows you have in that result or that query result. So if you wanted to count how many rows you have in the books table, you can use count star, and that will count how many rows you have in the books table. So we have 14 books, so that's the count or the number of rows because we are using the star in here. If you wanted to count in a specific column, so let's see a column for example. So let's say that we wanted to count how many books have a discount. So you'll see that we have some results or some values that are assigned null, but we have 4 books that have a discount. So if we counted instead of counting star, we can count the discount column, and that will count how many books have a discount value. And that will ignore the nulls that we have in that column. So if you wanted to count how many books have a discount on them, you will use the count function on that discount column, and that will count how many rows have an actual value in the discount column that is not equal to null. Now for these aggregate functions, we do not have to apply them for the whole table. If you have a condition that you want to satisfy, for example, you want to count how many rows you have or how many books that are in the computer category, you can still use the where condition. So I want to count all the rows from the book table or from the books table where the category is equal to computer. So category equals to computer. So that will count how many books we have in the category computer. So it will count all the books that have the category equal to computer in them. Same thing with the sum. So if we wanted to calculate the cost of all the books in the category computer, you can do that using the same command. So we are getting the sum of the cost from the books table, but we are only calculating the sum where the category is equal to computer. So this will calculate the total price or the total cost for all the books in the computer category. Now, if you wanted to calculate the total cost for all the categories and you want to calculate them all at once, what you can do is actually, instead of specifying one category, you can group your result according to their category. So this is where the command group by will come in handy. So when you use the group by command, the group by keyword, what it will do, it will go and group your table according to one column. So all the rows that have the same value for that column will be grouped into one row. And in this case, we are grouping them by, for example, the category. So we will go and group all the books according to the category, and for each group, we are calculating the total cost for that group. So if we run this command, it will display the total cost for each group. Now, I do not know for each which total cost is for which group, so I will display the category here too. So category, comma, and then the cost, or the sum of the cost. So that will display the category and the total cost for that category. So the total cost for the computer category was 138.35. The total cost for the cooking category was 31.5, and so on. We can do also the count. For example, we want to see how many values we have in that category. So count star, and that will count how many rows we have in that category too. So we have 4 books in the computer category, and their total cost is 138.35. We only have 1 book in the business category, which has a total cost of 15.4. So again, the group by is to group all the books that have the same value in that column, which is the category column, and then we'll perform the aggregate functions on these books and display them as one row. So the computer category, the total cost, and the number of books. Same thing for the cooking category, children, and so on. Now our where statement will not work here because we have now categories, or we have groups. We do not have single rows anymore. So if you only want to display the groups that satisfy a specific condition, instead of having a where statement or a where condition, now you'll be having or using the having keyword, which will apply the condition to a group, not into a row. So for example, you only want to display groups, so only the categories that have more than 4 books or more than 2 books in that category. So if you want to do that, you can use the having keyword, which is similar to the where statement that we used for rows, but the having works with groups instead of rows. So where or having the count, for example, the count star greater than 2. So that will only display the categories that have a count greater than 2. So in that case, we only have one category that has more than 1 or more than 2 books in it. If you want to display the ones that have 2 or more, you can use the greater than or equal, and that will display all the books that have a count that is greater than or equal to 2. So when we are using the group by to apply a condition for that for these groups, you'll be using the having keyword instead of the where. The where we use it with rows. The having we use it with groups. So when you are filtering according to a group, or you are filtering groups, you'll be using the having keywords. So having a count greater than 2, and we can add another condition. So and let's say a sum of cost greater than 50. So if we have more than 2 books, we have these categories that have more than 2 or equal to 2 books. And then we have these 2 categories that have a total cost more than 50. So we should be displaying only these 2 categories.